wall-mounted phone you just described?
If you were facing in that direction, if you're facing this direction, it would be behind you.
This phone on the counter isn't the phone that got smashed to smithereens, is it?
No, they brought that out during my testimony in the UK as well, and I said this in the UK trial as well, that is not the phone, obviously, because that one's not smashed and it's not wall-mounted.
Yeah, so there are two phones in the bar area.
There was a wall-mounted phone. I don't know if it was decorative or what, but it was like it looked antique, large and antique.
And what the large and antique one that's not depicted in any photograph, including ones you took, is the one that Mr. Depp damaged, correct?
That is correct. I only took pictures of the mirrors.
So there's no picture of that damaged phone?
I didn't take a picture of it, no.
Okay. So back to the phone smashing. You watched Mr. Depp smash the phone, right?
That's correct. I watched it.
And you testified that you were, quote, watching the phone every single time he pulled his hand back, end quote.
That's correct.
And according to you, this is when Mr. Depp lost the tip of his finger, right?
It is my best guess. I didn't notice his finger come off, obviously. I was watching him smash the phone and watching the pieces break while he was doing it.
Well, it's not your best guess, Ms. Heard.
That is my best guess, yes.
Okay, let's go back to my questions. You submitted a declaration under the penalty of perjury in this case. Do you remember that?
That is correct.
Okay, let's look at that declaration. Is that your signature?
Yes, it is.
And your signature appears right under the statement, quote, I declare under penalty of perjury, under the laws of the state of Virginia, that the foregoing is true and correct.
That is correct.
And this is dated April 10th, 2019.
Correct.
Now let's look at paragraph 16, which is on page 5. While he was smashing the phone, Johnny severely injured his finger, cutting off the top of it. Did I read that correctly?
Yes, that's correct.
So you testified in this courtroom that after Mr. Depp smashed the phone, he held you down on the countertop by the neck. Do you remember that?
I'm not quite sure of the exact sequence of things, but yes, both of those things happened.
Well, we'll get to the sequence. And this is when Mr. Depp supposedly assaulted you with a bottle, right?
On the countertop, he assaulted me.
So Mr. Depp was able to get you on the counter, right?
He held me down by my neck.
And hold you down by your neck.
That is correct.
And he grabbed a bottle, according to you, while holding you down by the neck, correct?
I'm sorry, can you clarify what you're asking me?
While Mr. Depp is holding you by the neck against the countertop, he grabs a bottle. That's your testimony.
No, those two things didn't happen at the exact same time, no.
So he's holding the bottle, is that your testimony? While
was
holding you down by the neck?
Sorry, what was your question?
Your testimony is, Ms. Heard, that either he has the bottle before or after he's holding you by the neck on the counter. Is that your testimony?
He held me by the neck on the counter.
Where's the bottle that he assaulted
At what
with?
point?
While holding you down by your neck.
When he was assaulting me with the bottle, it was in his hand.
Was it in his hand before or after he holds you down by your neck?
I was being held down while he assaulted me with the bottle.
When he puts you on the counter, does he have the bottle in his hand, yes or no?
As I have always said, I don't remember exactly what happened first, or I don't remember the sequence. I just remember being aware that I was being assaulted by a bottle while I was on the countertop.
So he penetrates you with this bottle. But you don't know how he got the bottle, right?
That is correct.
Okay. And he did that right after he lost the tip of his right middle finger.
Again, I don't remember the exact sequence of those events.
We'll get to the sequence. And while he was on 8 to 10 MDMA pills, right?
Yes.
Let's talk about the sequence. This is the sequence of events you testified to in this courtroom. That he smashed the phone to smithereens and then assaulted you, lost the tip of his finger, and then assaulted you with a bottle. Yes, that's the sequence of events that you testified to in this courtroom.
To be clear, you're putting it in order when you say words like, then. I have never claimed that I can remember the exact sequence of these things. This was a multi-day assault that took place over 3 horrible days.
Ms. Heard,
the worst thing ever
Ms.
happened
Heard,
to me. I
we're
don't
not
remember
Ms.
the
Heard,
exact sequence.
that's not my question. My question isn't about the 3-day assault, allegedly, that occurred. I'm just talking about the sexual assault that you now allege occurred.
Yes,
okay?
correct.
Let's talk about the sequence. And the reason that we need to go through this, Ms. Heard, is because we understand that these are very serious allegations that you're making, right?
It was horrible. What happened to me, yes.
Okay, so let's go through them. You testified that while Mr. Depp is smashing the phone, he is screaming, quote, I fucking hate you, end quote, right?
Yes, he was screaming that, among other things.
You talk about how you watched Mr. Depp smash the phone to smithereens. You say something really important. Quote, at some point, he's on top of me. No phone, but screaming the same thing, end quote. Right?
I just remember the sound, yes.
But you remember, and you testified to this jury, that he didn't have the phone in his hand anymore.
When he was assaulting me with the bottle,
Right.
He had the bottle in his hand. When he was punching the wall with the phone, he had the phone in his hand. When he was punching the wall next to my head, he had me by the throat. He did a lot of things that night.
So you're acknowledging, by this sequence, not my words, your words, Ms. Heard, that you testified to this jury that Mr. Depp smashed the phone to smithereens before he assaulted you. That's the sequencing in which you testified, correct?
I have never testified to a sequence.
You testified to being bent over backwards on the bar, right?
Okay.
That is correct.
And then feeling pressure on your pubic bone like Mr. Depp was punching you. Yes?
That's what I thought.
You testified that you were concerned Mr. Depp was using a broken bottle on you. Yes?
That was my fear.
Okay.
That's what I remember feeling.
You saw this picture during your direct examination, right?
I did.
And you testified that this is a picture of the bottles that were next to Mr. Depp on a desk when you found him drinking in the morning, right?
That's correct.
And this was the morning after Mr. Depp had allegedly sexually assaulted you, right?
Yes.
And if I understood your testimony correctly, you testified that this is the Maker's Mark bottle that Mr. Depp sexually assaulted you with.
I was never sure it was, but it was definitely that shape. Felt like that shape.
But you testified in this courtroom that you had not seen this bottle until Ben King provided these photographs, correct?
Not in the course of the trial. I hadn't seen the photograph.
You claim you had serious injuries after this alleged incident, right, Ms. Heard?
Depends on what you would call serious. For me, having a sore jaw and some bruises at the time of my relationship wasn't that serious.
Let's focus on the testimony that you gave about the injuries. Mr. Depp, as you testified yesterday, wears rings on every finger, right?
Sometimes. I mean, often. And certainly in the later part of our relationship, that was more normal than not. But if he's filming or something like that, of course, he's not going to have his own jewelry on.
Your testimony in this trial was, quote, I don't know if I've ever known Johnny not to wear rings. Right, Ms. Heard?
That's what I testified to, yes.
Okay. And he was wearing rings on every finger in Australia, correct?
Not all the time, not literally every single ring every single day, but he often wears rings.
Not often, Ms. Heard. Your words are, I've never known Johnny not to wear rings on every finger.
That is what I testified to.
Okay. And you testified that you bled as a result of this sexual assault, correct?
That is correct.
All right. And you testified that your forearms were cut.
My forearms and my feet.
And your feet were sliced up.
That's correct.
And you testified you had a bruise across your jaw.
That is correct.
And there is not a single medical record reflecting treatment for any of those injuries, is there, Ms. Heard?
I didn't seek treatment.
And the day after you sustained all these injuries, Dr. David Kipper came to the house in Australia, right?
Well, he came the third day along with security.
The day after you sustained these injuries, Dr. David Kipper came along with nurse Debbie Lloyd, correct?
Well, that fight went into the morning, like early hour morning, so technically that last day.
Dr. David Kipper is Mr. Depp's, or was Mr. Depp's physician, right?
I believe he still is.
But
Yes.
he was at the time.
Yes, that's correct.
And he was also your physician.
He also saw me.
No, not saw you. He was your physician, correct, Ms. Heard?
Johnny was the client, but he also treated me.
And he was your doctor at this point, right?
Yes, he was.
Debbie Lloyd also came to the house that day.
Yes, she came with Kipper.
Yeah. Miss Lloyd is a nurse, correct?
That is correct.
Malcolm Connolly also came to the house that day.
Yes, that's correct.
Mr. Connolly is one of the security guards, correct?
That is correct.
You had known Mr. Connolly for years at that point.
Yes, that's correct.
You flew back to Los Angeles the next day with Ben King. Is that right?
I can't be certain if it was the next day or the day after, but somewhere around there, yes.
And the day you arrived back in Los Angeles, you saw Travis McGivern, correct?
I don't recall seeing Travis, no.
You don't recall Mr. McGivern picking you up from the airport with Ben King?
I don't remember that, no.
And the same day, you also saw your own nurse, Erin Barem Filati that day, correct?
I don't recall if I saw her that day.
You saw Ms. Filati's testimony in this case by video deposition, correct?
That is correct.
And you heard her testify that she saw you the day you arrived back from Australia on March 9th, 2015.
I believe she testified that she came to dinner where I was with friends. Yeah, I believe that.
So she saw you that day?
I believe that evening I saw her at dinner.
Okay. And then you saw Erin Barem Filati again the next day for a private meeting, didn't you?
I'm not sure if that's what she testified to. I'd have to just see the records to know.